Hello, hello. Merry Christmas, everyone. This is a Christmas special. You can see I've made it all special. I did it all myself. And I'm very, very pleased with that. How are you doing, Kay? Ready for
I'm
Christmas?
doing great. Happy holidays for those who celebrate Christmas. Merry Christmas and a joyful, wonderful New Year that's coming up. We'll wish you again next week as well. But everybody, welcome. And we have a very fantastic show today.
Yeah, it's been a very eventful week this past week, and we'll dive into that in a second. Once again, obviously, we're just a couple of guys looking at charts, having a bit of fun on a Sunday evening. So it's not financial advice. And of course, thank you very much for Wolf Financial for letting us host on the platform. We really, really appreciate it. I switched up the cameras this week. How do I look?
It looks very nice. It looks very Christmassy. Fibonacci Trading, Merry Christmas to you as well.
This is real, by the way. It's not fake. I didn't put it on. Here you go.
Okay.
Kay missed his, unfortunately, this year. Yeah, but maybe next year. Eh?
Listen, I had it somewhere hidden, and I just couldn't find it in time. But I have my ugly sweater over here. So
that's all we need. That's all we need. Hello, Fibonacci Trader. How are you doing? Obviously, I think Kay's just said that. Let's get the slideshow on the way, shall we? Right. I'm going to make the view a little bit better. Not too sure what's happened there. I think we'll do that instead. Anyway, let's jump into it. So, weekly chart review. Obviously, last week was red.
Matches the season, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, I think the screen is reflecting red on my face as well, so I look very embarrassed right now. But no, I'm not embarrassed. I'm actually very ready to potentially pick up some stocks in the market. Obviously, Thursday morning it was rough. I think from FOMC on Wednesday night. Do you want to talk to that a bit, Kay? What happened? I wasn't around.
I wasn't around as well because I was traveling. However, what was I don't know why the reaction was, because it was expected we will get a cut and it would most likely be a hawkish tone. So it's sometimes I feel like it's rigged for some reason. It's because I give an example. So on CNBC, right, you had two types of analysts coming in. One type of analyst said, hey, we might not get a cut. One type of analyst was, we will get a cut and we will have a hawkish tone with fewer cuts planned. So there's like a deliberation that's going on, and market is kind of assessing, is it going to be 3 rate cuts next year? Is it going to be 2 rate cuts this next year? So it's more about forward looking, what's going to happen in 2025. And it's all about, the change of guard is happening, a new president is coming in, new administration is going to come in. Again, I take these as opportunities in the market to take advantage of. If you're trading, then don't sweat it. This is part of the game.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people traded very well on Thursday morning or Wednesday night, Thursday morning.
Exactly.
Obviously, when the market moved, which we'll see in a few charts in a second, when the market moved like it did, you can make a lot of money in that kind of process. But yeah, look at that. I mean, NVIDIA down 3%, Microsoft down 2%, Amazon actually not too bad numbers. I think Meta got hit the worst at 6.69 there. And Tesla actually, again, completely flat. We've said that a couple of times, weirdly, in the last 6 months or so. Apple still shining bright, though, which is good to see. Move on to the next slide. We did dip into extreme fear during the week. As you can see, their previous close was 22, which was, I'm guessing, the Thursday, something like that. But we're still in that kind of bottom side of the fear. Do you see that kind of turning more towards greed in the beginning parts of the UK?
I would say neutral would be my guess, considering we don't have that many trading days left. We have 3.5 days for trading next week, and then we have maybe 1.5 day the following week in terms of the year end, because for most hedge funds, institutional investors, they are going to do more tax loss harvesting. So it's going to be a lot more selling coming in so that they can balance the portfolio right before 31st December from a tax perspective. So that's another thing. On the VIX, if you remember last week when we were talking, the VIX was in the 13 and it went all the way to 21 and now it's 18. I believe we will see a similar spike in VIX come January 21st when you will have the inauguration ceremony. So there will be a lot more volatility. So you can look into playing that. We'll talk about that maybe closer to it, maybe a week, 2 weeks before. But as you can see, pretty much all the indexes were down. I don't know if Bitcoin is still the same number or not. It keeps changing. key events. Market is closing 1 p.m. on Christmas Eve, closed on 25th, full trading day on 26th and 27th.
So plenty of trading to be done this week. Although, like you said before, the volume will be very much lower this week. Yeah, people on holiday, enjoying time with their families, as they should do. I realised I forgot to mention at the beginning, make sure you put your tickers in the comments. We basically have our picks, we go through our picks, and then we go through the audience requests after that. So probably about 20 minutes or so, we'll start rattling through the tickers that you stick in the comments. Could be anything. It gives us ideas. It gives you a different perspective on your stock. So obviously go ahead and comment down below. But yeah, no, it's exciting to see where the market's going to head in the next couple of weeks, heading into the new year. And with that, we've got earnings. Well, we don't really, do we?
So next 2 weeks basically are going to be pretty slow. And we do actually start the banks from the week of 13th.
You can see them there.
That's going to be the launch of the Q4 earnings. And that's basically kick it off. Yeah,
that's the one. So when the banks comes, the earnings season kicks off once again. It doesn't feel like that much time between seasons, of course. But yeah, always an exciting time. Right, I guess we're getting to our first chart today, won't we?
Let's do this.
Awesome. So this is SPY. I realized the overlay I've made actually takes away the name of it. So you're just going to have to take my word for each stock that we bring up today. So this is SPY. I'm going to leave it on there because, it's a Christmas special. Why wouldn't we leave it on there? This is SPY. We had some dramatic price action, as you can see on the screen. We've got the Wednesday candle, really rough, obviously up until FOMC meeting. After that, it just basically plummeted. Came up a bit overnight, but I think we had a bit of resistance, especially on the Qs. A bit of resistance on the overnight trading, and then again made another move down. And then Friday there was a bit of there was a massive bounce, but a little bit of tail off at the end there. And I'm just wondering if we are seeing perhaps a bit of a change in trend. Obviously a bit of a contrarian kind of thought out there in the markets, but you can just see the 50 moving average, which has acted as a bit of support in the past. It's just acting as a bit of resistance actually on 2 days in a row now. What are your thoughts on that, Kay?
I think it might not be a bad idea for a pullback. I would say maybe another 2-3% around the. We actually do have a good support level at 582.99. We had a couple touches, and even the last touch that we had on this weekly, we bounced off at that level. It definitely has a lot more, I guess. Support at that level, and unless we see some kind of a major news, which I don't see that happening, I think we might just keep chugging along slowly. The trend hasn't reversed yet.
So you're saying perhaps we might just kind of drift back upwards, but without anyone really noticing,
or even sideways trade, right?
Yeah.
I don't see why we would get a decline at this time. The worst case that I think could be a sideways if we don't make all-time highs again.
Yeah.
Until the next change of guard that happens in third week of January, and we may actually see a rally right around that time frame before settling in and maybe a pullback, because markets do need a pullback, right, for resetting and before making newer highs. You need that kind of a respite. You may see a little bit of selling going on because of tax loss harvesting, but again, I'm pretty sure a lot of folks have already sold and balanced the account. They don't just wait for the last day to do these things.
On the news side of things as well, you've got FOMC speakers, which will be talking about the rates and how much they think they should do in 2025, etc. So that might move the market slightly as well. Obviously, you won't have many speakers in the next couple of weeks because they're all on holiday, or thereabouts. So yeah, just be aware of any speakers. FOMC speakers kind of around those times. Let's move on to the QQQ then. I had the 517 level drawn for the last couple of months on this chart, okay, and it looked like it kind of played around it. Obviously, it didn't act as complete support. It did a bit on Wednesday night, kind of came back up, and obviously subsequently kind of moved up on Thursday. But Friday, just complete erratic price action, kind of played it all around it. It's still within this zone though that I've drawn from 514.50 to 522. So I'm happy with it staying in this zone, and obviously hopefully just staying above the trend line as well. So that's what I meant a bit before when we were speaking about the SPY, just kind of slowly drifting back up, as if to say like no one's really noticing that SPY is actually back up 4 or 5%, that kind of thing. And you do tend to get that kind of movement, potentially through low volume areas. So we've got that to look forward to as well, potentially. On the other hand, of course, this could be resistance, and we could be pushing down towards this 50-minute average, in which case we're going to have to touch that and test it. And then we'll see what happens when we get to that point, I think. Anything else to add here on the QQQK?
No, I think pretty solid. I think, and from an options activity standpoint, of course, at the end of the year, we do have a little bit more volatility, lot more put to call ratio is much higher, 1.69. But again, that's pretty standard from the last week of the year.
Awesome. But just before we move on to my charts, I've got Rivian and what else have I got?
Rivian, yes.
Yeah, so we'll get into them in a second. But obviously, put your tickers in the comments as well. I can see a few of them come through. Keep them flowing. It's a Christmas special. We'll be on a little bit longer today. So we're looking forward to getting some ideas as well. So keep them coming in the comments, definitely. Right, let's move on to my first chart, which is Rivian. Now, this one is exciting for me in terms of 2025. Now, a few people brought this up on X, which is not my idea solely. I didn't find this. I just got inspired by other people, and I thought, actually, there is a bit of opportunity here. They've just got a 6.6 billion loan from the Department of Energy. They haven't actually approved that just yet, but I think they're going to be finalising it. And if they do get that, obviously that will speed up the manufacturing of the kind of Georgia plant. Well, the making of the Georgia plant for the manufacturing of vehicles, of course. And the actual capacity of that, I think, is 400,000 vehicles a year, which, of course, is a lot of vehicles for Rivian. So that's kind of a bit of news kind of around there, kind of fundamental side of things. But on the technical basis, you can see very, very clearly it's in a trend line, just underneath the trend line at the moment, which has gone back to July of last year. What we want to see is just a clean break, maybe a retest, but you don't tend to get a retest too much with these types of stocks because they're so erratic, because they're so kind of memey in a way, I guess, in their movements. So you could just see that kind of shoot straight towards kind of 1870, which is the first line I've got drawn here, which would represent a 27% return, which is pretty good. And we can see the second point, which is $24, and that's 63%. So really, really good gains you could get off of this stock. Obviously, risk management here, my kind of strategy is to kind of bring up the 20-minute average stop loss for that. I'll start that again. My strategy is to bring up the stop loss behind the 20-moving average, which is this blue line. So if we do get positive movement, that will obviously curl up. We'll follow up behind it, and I'll just bring up the stop loss behind it. Essentially, I've spoken enough about Rivian. I like the stock as well. I mean, do you like the cars? Because I really like the cars. I think they're really high tech, really solid build, and there's lots of great customer feedback around the company as well. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I am noticing a lot more Rivians on the road as opposed to Lucid. There are few, but I'm noticing a surge in Rivian, and I don't know which model which is going to come out. I think it's a little bit of smaller model, which I guess might be a better seller than their larger cars, right? Because a lot more people, maybe their garage is not as big as So I think as they launch other models, it may see an uptick. My only concern is, if the $7,500 EV credit that goes away next year, how does that impact Rivian? So that will be to be seen. Yeah. So let me ask you this, and maybe the audience might also get a little bit of an insights into it. Are you looking at from a swing trade standpoint? And what would be your time frame that you're looking to play this? So it'd be a long swing for sure. So I'm looking at about maybe like 6 to 9 months. And perhaps even longer, which I know would probably turn more into a long-term investment. But the gains you can get and the way you can accumulate in these types of positions is obviously the returns can be really quite substantial. But initially, yeah, 6 to 9 months I'm looking at here, and I'm looking at, well, that's the time frame, and I'm looking at obviously trying to get to kind of $24. But you can, with these types of stocks, you can easily hit that within 2 or 3 months. So I might, at that point, I mean, like you said, with the credits, at that point, if there's some negative news or some negative feeling around that kind of area of the news, then I might take obviously quite a lot of the position at that, and then let the rest run from then onwards. But yeah, so 6 to 9 months is what I'm
6 to
looking
9.
at.
And your entry that you are looking to get into is, once we have the breakout from this trend line, it makes sure that it's not a false breakout, and then you make an entry point.
Yeah, so ideally I would like to see a break above this and then come back down and retest it. But I'm happy to take a small position on the initial break, which I'm guessing some people might have traded, because this is a weekly chart. I'm guessing that's what some people might have done this week, because obviously you can see that wick poking above it. So some people might already be in this. I do actually have a small position anyway, so just, you know, not financial advice, of course. So I did that kind of same thing, but with the momentum that it's getting, and obviously Tesla's getting a bit of a push up at the moment. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's helpful, man.
And the vehicle you're talking about is R3, the little one. And that's due to come out in 2026. So we've still got to wait another year for that.
Okay.
And obviously the manufacturing in Georgia will really help ramp that up potentially for consumers. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. DraftKings. So DraftKings, this is another weekly chart, and there's lots of lines. I'll talk through it fairly quickly. I can't promise anything. But yeah, what we can see is a head and shoulders that's kind of played out already. And then we broke above that, which was great. Made a move up to kind of 45.70, as you can see on the screen. And we just retraced from that. And we've got a nice opportunity around this $40 level. Again, this is the weekly, so you can see lots of movement throughout this past week, alongside lots of other stocks and obviously the indices as well. But we've basically bounced perfectly off the 20-moving average, which is really nice to see, because I took a position at the beginning of the week, which I've posted on X, etc. Everyone kind of knows about that if you follow me, of course. And I do like it for a move back up to this kind of level of 45.70, if not 50, just from a purely psychological play. And this is also a logical play for me as well, in terms of obviously it's sports season. There's lots going on. There's lots of people kind of gambling, hoping to get more money, etc. You know, as long as you keep it safe, it's not the end of the world. But back to the chart, we can see I would have the stop loss around 37, which it currently is at. But if we were to make a move up to kind of 45.50, then I would obviously bring up the stop loss to break even initially, and then obviously see how the trade matures from there. But to get more of an insight of kind of how I kind of look at trades and how I manage them, obviously follow on X, because I do post fairly regularly, probably too regularly, around my trades. Any thoughts on DraftKings? What do you think of this chart, then, okay?
I think I like how the setup is, and I think it's a very cyclical stock in terms of every year that the sports season is in full swing, you are able to take advantage of the stock. So I think it's a pretty good stock from a trading standpoint. I know you and Nate were pretty big on DraftKings. I have not really gotten into DraftKings, but I see why you play these often.
You can see it on the screen actually as well, because this down here, I know my name is in the way, but just below the cursor is the turn of the year. So you can see it kind of turned into the end of the year negative, but then really basically pushed up higher up into kind of April, May area, which is that kind of results around Q4 and kind of the company's doing well, raising their guidance, etc. So you can see, just as you mentioned there, it's kind of a bit more of a cyclical stock for sure.
And you're taking advantage of that cyclical stock. That's perfect. So I think get into the position, run it up, and then as it goes down during the lighter season, you just get back in again for another swing trade.
Exactly, yeah. Rinse and repeat. So that's what they call that. But yeah, you can find me on X, of course, at Shaun Trades. It actually has an underscore after the Shaun Trades. I've been told to add that on, but I keep forgetting to do so. You can also find me on YouTube as well, where I go live fairly often, again under the same kind of name. And I also got TTR, which is my trading community, which you can find all the details around on my X profile. It's just a very simple link. You can click into that and have a play, have a look. But yeah, that's it from me. I'll hand you over to Kay. What do we got up first, Kay? Oh no, I had to take away the overlay. Give me a second. You can't see half your chart.
Is it AMD or is it no need? You can keep it. If you can tell me if it's AMD or NVIDIA.
I'll hide it for a bit so you can actually see it.
Okay, it's NVIDIA.
It's NVIDIA.
Yeah, it's NVIDIA because I remember. Okay, so I think let me start with the thesis. Why? And for today, both the stocks are going to be NVIDIA and AMD. So it's a semiconductor stock. apart from all the other stocks, if you notice, right, whether it's Palantir, SoFi, Tesla, or name any other stock, Google, they have all had that massive run. Snowflake. What's not running is NVIDIA and AMD. And we know for a fact that they are going to have a run in 2025, considering that there is big demand on the AI front. And let me give you thesis why I think it's going to happen. So Salesforce recently launched what they call it workforce agent. And what it does is basically is the AI bots or AI agents are going to help solve most of the problems. And I'm noticing in a lot of SaaS companies, they are replacing the support team, which is the front-end support team that helps you answer questions, with AI bots, which is different from the chat bots you used to see on websites. So as the demand starts to grow up for those activities and those features, you will need processing power, and hence the AMD and NVIDIA play. Now, from an NVIDIA standpoint, you can see the 128 has acted as a solid support for a very, very long time, going back all the way to October. So that's a very good support. We have had bounces multiple times in the last 3-4 days now. So very, very strong support. Another support is at 114.96, where you see a very big volume shelf also coming in, the yellow line that I have there. The top right now is around 149, 150 is where that resistance is, where it gets rejected. So if you believe in the NVIDIA AI theme, AI play, this could be a very good positioning you can start off with to play that swing trade. Again, this is going to be a slightly longer swing trade. Again, it could happen in 1 month, but I'm assuming it may take a good 1 to 2 quarters for it to play out. So you can start to build a position. If you trade stocks, then maybe slowly building into your position, whether at 128 or whether you see a decline, you start building those out and wait for that upswing. That's the play that I'm looking at from an NVIDIA long term.
I like it. I think this level here, whatever it is, maybe probably at 135-ish, that's a really key level for me. Just getting back above that, because obviously you've got the head and shoulder pattern, which we've kind of broke down really in the last couple of weeks. We did try and get back up there with a bit of a push up there, but it got rejected once again. But we are just at that level once again here with the green candle. But we do need to see another good couple of days. Maybe we get that this week. Who knows? Obviously, the volume's not going to be quite there. But yeah, maybe that push to 140 is just all we need. Because if you imagine as well, you've got the trend line from the top of this wick here down to where we are. It looks like we're kind of maybe peaking out of that now. So there's a little bit of excitement around the opportunity around AMD. And there's a few people in my community talking about AMD. And, I did add to my long-term position this week. So, I'm bullish in it as well personally. Obviously, it's not financial advice.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really like AMD, and I'm glad you brought this one up, because I think it's an important one to kind of, have people's eyes set on, because it's not done well this year. It's not done well this year at all.
Well,
compared to other assets, at least in the same sector.
I think they are still up 100.
Yeah, I think so. I think no.
Let me see. Let me tell you exactly. It's up 172% for the year.
Really?
NVIDIA is up 172% for the year.
You know what I'm thinking? I actually thought we were looking at AMD.
So I think that the reason is because you have stocks like Palantir, SoFi, and other Tesla that ran recently in the last 2 months or so. So and NVIDIA has taken a back step. It's not part of that conversation. So between the Mag 7, you're talking about Google, talking about Amazon, you're talking about Tesla. You haven't really talked about Meta. You haven't talked about Netflix has been running up. Microsoft has had a little bump in the road. Apple is like kind of chopping in its way. And NVIDIA has like kind of lost the conversation. And you already start seeing these negative articles about NVIDIA that, hey, they're going to lose the lead. Demand is going to diminish.
Everything I've just said has been towards AMD.
Okay.
So we need to kind of strap that from the record. So, which would be interesting in the next stock, which is AMD.
Which is AMD.
Right. Say exactly something.
Let's into AMD. And
NVIDIA is looking good.
So let's start off with AMD. AMD is down almost 20% for the year. So you started the stock was around 138 and right now it's 119. So it's basically below its 52. It's a 52-week low right now for the stock. same thesis. If you believe that chips and AI are important and integral part of 2025 and beyond, this is another play for a longer swing trade. Of course, you can invest it also and hold it, but I do believe that this is also overdue for its run. Whether it's going to happen in the first quarter or second quarter, as we see the lineup of the product roadmap that comes out and they start, the AI chip starts to sell in the order standpoint, you will see another run. So another pick for 2025 for me for both NVIDIA and AMD. Considering it's a 52-week low, I generally tend to add to my position when it's a 52-week low. Doesn't mean it can't go lower, but again, it is at a very good spot to start building your position if you trade stocks and not options.
Yeah, my range for AMD is between 130 and 120. So I've been picking up shares this week, as I mentioned in the NVIDIA part by accident. But yeah, no, I like AMD for the long term. Obviously, it is breaking certain boundaries in a negative fashion, but these are the kind of places you add, and you kind of look at the opportunistic side of things, of course. And like you said, the RSI down below 30, which you can't see on the screen because we're in the way. Just move that. But RSI looking quite juicy as well.
Exactly.
So, yeah. One to watch, I think, for AMD. Merry Christmas to you as well, Draggers Pips. I probably pronounced that terribly wrong. But yeah, Merry Christmas. We've got all the tickers flowing through, so obviously keep them flowing through. Yeah, where can we find you, Kay?
You can find me on Twitter, or you call it X, whichever you like. I pretty much post regularly, and you can definitely follow me there. YouTube, you'll see a lot more action on YouTube in the coming weeks and 2025, working on a lot more content, and you'll see a similar uptick in Substack as well.
Looking forward to all the new content on YouTube, and you do produce it very, very well. So, yeah, looking forward to that very much. So, should we jump into some tickers then, Kay?
Let's do it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Let's have a little bit of fun first. What do you want for Christmas? What price action do you want for Christmas? What would be ideal
for next 2 days?
Yeah, let's say to the end of the year. What do you want to see?
Well, I want Tesla to hit $500.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
How far are they now? I want Neo to go to 10. Is that too much to ask for or not?
Listen, I mean, I'll be happy. I hold leap calls on Neo, so
you've got actually not too far actually for 500 for Tesla.
Yeah, I mean, it's doable. Is it going to sustain? I don't know, but we can have like 1 or 2 crazy days where we get 20% upside, and hey, we'll be there 500.
Well, who knows? I mean, it's made the run already, so it's just maybe calming down. We've got a previous all-time high here as well, sitting here. While we're on it, we might as well talk about it. But we get back to 415, or even now, really, for that kind of breakout bounce back up to 500. So it's possible, for sure.
Merry Christmas, Tech Steve.
Tech Steve, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Sebastian. Nice of you to join us.
Sebastian, Merry Christmas as well.
It's a very festive period, isn't it? What's our first stock then, Kay?
Let's start off with Google. That's our first request from Justin.
Google, yeah, it's been going quite well recently, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Even with the sell-off in the last.
Let me ask you before you jump into Google, which one do you trade often, the GOOGL or GOOG?
I trade off the GOOG.
Yeah, that makes more sense. And the reason it makes more sense is you don't expect the company to go bankrupt, right? Especially a company like Google. So you technically pay a little bit less premium on the trading, pricing, everything if you're doing a Class C instead of Class A share. That's just, I learned from it. I think there were a couple folks on the CNBC, they shared this tips and tricks.
See, for me, it's just a name and price action. The actual class of shares doesn't mean much to me.
Yeah.
So I trade it in a certain direction. Yeah, so back to kind of Google. I would like it to come back down to 183. It's not really giving us the opportunity, obviously, with everything that's kind of bullish around their technology and the last kind of releases they've had in the last couple of weeks. It seems to obviously be very bullish, and analysts seem to like it for future projections. But I don't think I'm going to be able to get that 183. You never know, but that's why I would enter. Forget this one because that's an old projection.
There's a gap. I
Yeah,
would.
there's a gap there. Yeah, that would be even better if it came all the way down to here.
Yeah.
That would be a really interesting point to kind of add.
And that's not that far off. It's only like a 7-8% down. It's not like huge, like a 20% dip. 7-8% is normal for tech stocks to move.
Exactly. Even the big ones. Even the big
Even
ones.
the big ones. Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, I like Google for 177, let's say.
Yeah, that would be a good. And also your 20-day, 50-day moving average is coming up at 175. So that's always a good opportunity. And it's followed right behind the 200-day moving average of 169. So those are good areas to add, honestly.
Let's see if we get that price action. What's next?
Uber.
Uber.
So
That's
let me see. For Uber, if you haven't seen it, check out my channel. I did post a video on Uber for a long-term swing play, so you can definitely look at that and the thesis behind it. But we can cover Uber over here as well.
I'm just going to get that up for you. Do you want to talk to the chart briefly?
Dude, I'm loving the price action over here for Uber, and the reason is it's in the consolidation phase. This area of $60.73, let's say $60 to $61, you have such a massive volume shelf. Folks are accumulating the stock at these levels. And this has become a very good support, a very strong support for Uber. So I wouldn't mind actually building out on a position, because I talk in my video, the fair value for Uber is almost $155. So I'm looking at that swing play from this level. Now, yeah, you can add Uber at $45 also. But if that is where you're looking to see Uber going in, whether it's in 1 year or 2 years, that's the play that I'm hoping for. If you're looking for a short-term trade, then that's a different thing. But I'm looking for a much longer-term trade where this could be a multi-bagger.
And that can be explained in this video here. This is Kay's channel. And this is the video on Uber. You can see that I've watched it as well, so that's good news.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I think we drew on it the last couple of weeks, the kind of accumulation zone that I've got here between $58.50 and $60. So I like it around these levels. I haven't started buying it, but maybe I should. So I'll keep you posted on that.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't see that we will have like a 20% run one day unless we hear an announcement for some reason, right? They acquire something. Otherwise, we will see a trend. But again, I think if the regulations around the robotaxi eases out, Tesla starts to come out with robotaxi, and just in the off chance that somehow Uber and Tesla, they say, hey, we'll get into a partnership, you will see Uber run.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
But here's the point. You can't bank on that news, and you won't be able to get in once the news get announced. So,
well, yeah, no, it'll be too late by then, won't it?
Yeah. Next up is Upstart, UPST. I think it's Upstart.
Yeah. Well, look at a bit of a failed breakout there. On the bull flag that we kind of drew, I guess, in a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Looks like it's kind of settled down at kind of 50 moving average. It's an interesting spot because we've got lots of support around this level. Again, I'm in the mood to draw zones.
Well, once you're done with this, I do want to, there's an audience question I want to answer on the Uber aspect.
Oh, I thought you kind of did. That was the Tesla. But yeah, we'll go back to that in a sec.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, actually, it's not a bad place to add if you're looking for like a technical trade. But if you do break this 50-minute average / support zone, then you are looking at a bit of trouble. Maybe down to the gap fill there, 57.25. So that's not a very nice return. 15% lower. So obviously, if you're holding it, that's not the best kind of stop loss to be had. Anyway, let's go back to, what was it, Uber?
Uber. So Ken brought up a good point. Are we taking into account competition from robotaxi? So I don't think the robotaxi, if it gets switched on in 2025, will be a competitor to Uber right off the bat. It will take a couple of years for robotaxi to be good enough to be an actual competitor. but that doesn't mean the stock will not react. The stock will actually react much violently than the actual ground reality. So that's I totally agree with that. I do think, and Ken also says the same thing. I don't think Uber knows this better than anybody else, that their survival is actually on the line here. So I'm pretty sure there will be more of a tie-up here. And let's be honest, Elon also knows that he can't just pull off everything just because it's robotaxi. The concept has not been proved at a scale. That's the key word, at a scale. Waymo operates, certain locations. Yeah, it's expanding, but hey, the total addressable market is much larger. And every time we hear the vision is 5-10 years in the future. We're talking about stock over here that we are trading. So it's very different from investing for a vision. So that's just my take on it.
Awesome.
Next up is MO. It's Altria. We haven't. This is it's a lovely stock, honestly, for dividend players. I honestly love Altria. They produce cigarettes and tobacco, and I think I forget the brand. This is a very popular brand they have for cigarette. I don't smoke, so I don't know, but I think it's a very popular brand. I forget which one it is.
It's a nice trendline spot if you.
Yeah. I have added for my long-term position around the 45, 49, and I run covered calls on it. But hey, man, it's a pretty good dividend-paying company. So I'm not sure who asked this question. Let me see. It's Justin who asked for MO. Justin, are you looking to trade this for like a long-term, short-term? If you can.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at it technically, you've got a bounce on the weekly on the 20 moving average / around the kind of trend line. So it looks like it's performing really, really well, especially this year. You can see that the move just basically this year. And we've got some previous resistance here as well, around 52. So there's lots of support kind of underneath it. Be interesting to see if it kind of continues its momentum going forward.
So Justin responds that it's a long-term dividend. Yeah, I mean, I would say for long-term dividend stocks, just keep adding in all those dips that you get, because you build up your portfolio, and the more stocks you add, the more dividend you'll get over the time period. So I think every time you get a pullback on these stocks like Altria, McDonald's, the typical dividend stocks that you have, keep adding them. And I think there's a gap over here between 50 and 51.28. So if it continues to decline, that's where I will probably add a little bit more. You have a very good support around the $49-50 mark. That's where the support goes all the way back to August. So I'll add a lot more on that.
It's just nice when you see a stock making higher highs and higher lows, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is not like a growth stock. It's a value company, and this one, AbbVie, McDonald's, and these are great dividend companies.
Beautiful chart. Well explained, okay.
Next up is your favorite stock, so I'll start NEO. So you can take this.
I don't think anything's happened this weekend for NEO. We can move on if you like. No. So NEO Day happened yesterday, the release of Firefly, which has been much anticipated. Obviously, it was released yesterday. Have you seen the car, Kay?
I have not, actually.
No, it's I don't know if you ever played the game Splinter Cell when you were younger, but it just reminds me constantly of Splinter Cell with the kind of 3 circles. Just search NEO Firefly on Twitter or something.
Okay.
It's got 3 little circles on headlights, and it just looks, I think it looks really cool. It's got a bit of a modern vibe, but also a bit of a classic vibe. So I think it might, appeal to many different age groups.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a budget car, so it starts around $20,000, which cars in its range they kind of start from about $30,000. So it's definitely a good value for a vehicle. So there's lots of anticipation around that, and obviously that will start delivering, I think in the second quarter, I believe, this year, which is again really, really exciting for not only the company as a growth prospects, but as a stock as well. So yeah, really, really excited about that. And of course, they released the ET9 as well, which is basically a business car essentially, but it is a beautiful car. And apparently they've sold 999 straight off the bat, kind of special developer versions. I forget what the official term is. But yeah, looking at the chart, we're at a very, very key level. I swear things kind of time to the technicals perfectly. Obviously, you've got Neo day coming out yesterday, but also we're at a very crucial point in terms of the chart. So we need to bounce here. So could this be the catalyst to get Neo moving? We'll find out tomorrow morning. Or actually tonight, to be fair, on the Hong Kong markets. So we'll see how that kind of reacts and see how that pushes on in the next few weeks. But yeah, I've still got a target of 750 up here. I know it's a bit dramatic, but you know what these stocks can do. Okay, they can move really, really fast, really, really quickly. So there is definitely potential behind Neo, and I think the actual broader sense of the thing here is the actual company is doing like visually very, very well. They've got plenty of cash now, and obviously plenty of support from certain areas of the industry, and obviously having that infrastructure kind of built around China is kind of almost going to a bit more of an energy play as well. Not now, but obviously maybe in the future it'll be a bit more of an energy play with the Neo power, etc. But yeah, really, really excited around Neo, as you can tell.
Let me ask you this question about Neo, not specifically to Neo, but so China is putting a lot more liquidity to prop up the market. Do you think that is going to help, propel Neo as well?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Okay.
A rising tide lifts all boats, doesn't it? Yeah. So the HK would go up, Alibaba would go up, Baidu would go up, and Neo would go up too. And then obviously the US stock market catches a whiff of this, and you can see it recently. This is the kind of move we had, but the HSI just went nuts. Obviously that was for different reasons around the economy, but these kind of stocks, they do have a bit of a meme touch to them once they get going. But that's all around your kind of risk management levels and your kind of risk tolerance. That's a different ball game. But yeah, as a company, I really, really like Neo, as you can tell.
Yeah, that we all know, I guess. Sebastian brings up a good point. His question is, what is your view for 2025 considering the liquidity drainage and over expenditure and debt?
I think with the products that they've got at the moment and what they're planning on releasing next year, so obviously recently released Onvo in the last few months, and it's ramping up really, really well. Their targets for that is 20,000 deliveries a month. That should balance out the kind of liquidity issues and obviously essentially making money. They're looking at going break even at the beginning of 2026. So essentially this time next year, we could be talking about Neo as a profitable company, which I never would have thought this soon because of obviously the difficulties that they've had. Obviously the spending and research and development, of course, is going to be very, very tricky. But I think 2025 could be a turning point in terms of people actually thinking, oh, okay, this is actually a real company. Because for so long now, the last 4 years, basically, Neo's been a bit of a dirt stock. Oh yeah, it's never going to work. Battery swapping, what's that? It's too innovative, that kind of stuff. And obviously the stock price has reflected that. It's not great, but
okay.
I think we're turning a corner.
Okay, so that was good on Neo. So I think his question was more on the economy. So from my perspective, that I think we are seeing liquidity drainage, but actually there's a lot of liquidity sitting on the sideline, which actually did not get invested during this entire year. Now, with the interest rates getting cut, right now, I think American Express and bigger banks, they're offering a high yield savings for about 3.8 to 4%. I think SoFi is offering 4%. So as that gets lower and lower, you need more return on your investment. So we see more liquidity coming into the market next year. At least that's what analysts are predicting, and that makes obvious sense. From a debt standpoint, I see all this talks about debt. I'm assuming we'll go ahead and we'll print money again. Maybe not as much. We'll see how much effective Doge is going to be. I know, Elon fanboys are all over Twitter, and we'll see how that plays out. But if the government was that easy to deal with, they would have fixed these issues long time back. I'm not pessimistic. I'm not optimistic. I'm just being realistic here. Let's see how much they can achieve. That was the overall sentiment.
I think being realistic is wise. Yeah.
Ken is saying 9 trillion. Yes, I probably had heard 7 trillion or something. But yeah, so think about that much money sitting on the sideline. I mean, I'm pretty sure that some of it, if not all, will be part of the market, equity market. All right. Yeah. Next is also your stock. Let's move to Palantir.
Palantir. What is there to say about Palantir, really? what an incredible year it's had. And even on Friday, I mean, this is the weekly chart. We'll move to the daily chart. But you thought maybe at the beginning of the week, it's just might be turning down, might be just calming down a bit, but then bang, no, Friday it was straight back up at almost all-time highs. But I mean, I'm not going to rattle on with this one too much, but the company's obviously doing exceptionally well. The forward PE is very, very high. A lot of people are saying it's very, very overvalued, but that's what you get with these kind of stocks. Momentum will take it in its direction. And really, hats off to anyone who's invested in this year. Unfortunately, I sold a little bit too early, which is classic kind of trait of mine, which I'm working on. But yeah, no, really, really congratulations to anyone who's holding this. I don't know what else there really is to say about this, Kay. What are your thoughts?
No, so I have a different opinion. I look for gaps, and the first gap is almost 40% down from the current. Now, I do have a long-term position, but a very small position. Unlike NVIDIA's and Tesla's, which I talk more often, I don't talk about Palantir much because I don't have a big position in that. So if you're looking to add Palantir at a long-term position, you DCA, but you do weighted DCA, right? So which basically means if it's making all-time highs, you might slow down your DCA or you wait, because there will be a pullback. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. It's just the matter of time, right? You need a broader market correction, and Palantir will pull back. Now, if it pulls back, I'll add more to fill those gaps if it's around those gaps. If not, then I will slowly add as it declines. But that again depends on your risk management. If you're trading, then I would get into a weekly short-term trade, or maybe even do day trading on this one, because it's really very hot stock. So I'm not going to swing trade from here, wait for 6 months because I don't know how much upside potential is left already, because it has already run 300+% this year.
I mean, who's buying at these levels?
I mean, somebody's definitely buying it, and I'm pretty. But the problem is, you don't know what the top is. So the risk to reward, the first gap is 43%. The second gap is 60%. Third gap is 70%, and fourth gap is 77%, going down to $17. Question is, will that happen? Maybe, maybe not. It might not play out for next 3 years, right? Maybe it will run up so much that they will do a stock split. Who knows? But it's very difficult to invest at these high prices when you have a better deal with some of the other players out there.
Yeah, I mean, what a performance from Palantir. I mean, congratulations to all the investors, like I've said before. Just be wise of managing your positions is what I would say. No, I'm going to leave it there, I think, for Palantir.
All right. Next up is SoundHound. I think that's also yours. You can take it.
Well, yeah. I think Sebastian, if you're still here, Sebastian, you know my pain with this stock. I sold, admittedly, a little bit accidentally, way too early. I think I sold at 8.75 or something like that, which is actually all the way down here. And since then, it's rocketed up. What are we looking at? The current price, another 144%. So I missed out on a lot of gains there. But that's how it goes. You win some, you lose some. I still won it, but I just didn't win as much as I could have won it. But that's part of my 2025 thesis. But we'll talk about that next week. We've got an exciting episode next week talking about kind of what went well, what went bad from our years, and how we can kind of improve as traders moving on for the next year. But yeah, I mean, SoundHound, there's not really much to say. It's absolutely insane. This stock has lots of liquidity coming in, which is pushing it obviously higher, and short sellers getting absolutely screwed, should we say? So yeah.
Ken makes a good point. He says gamblers buy at all levels, and casino isn't the only place for gamblers. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Moving on to a very good stock, which is on my radar, is called KAYE.
KAYE.
Yeah,
you had this one. I've had the last three. So.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a nice spot right now, KAYE, and I am looking for this gap fill to happen between 109 and 105. That's the gap fill that I'm looking for. And at that point, I'll make a judgment whether I want to initiate a position or not. Just like Chipotle, I think KAYE is also I think the number of stores, just in case, have increased a lot. We always see a very heavy foot traffic in Kava. Even on colder days, we see a lot more orders for pickup on Kava. So I think company is doing pretty well. The food is pretty good as well. Their menu is not that complicated, pretty standard menu. So they move pretty fast. Having said that, again, the stock has run up very well. And if you're looking for a long-term position, wait for the gap fill and maybe see if it can hold off the 200-day moving average. That's what I'm aiming at.
Yeah, I think wise words there. Just waiting for this kind of. I mean, it's in between. It's in limbo basically. So you're in between two rather large moving averages, the 50 and the 200.
Yeah.
Just very simply, I'd be looking for it to gap fill, and then by then, the 200 moving average will be around that sort of area. So to me, that's a little bit of point of confidence as well. Now, what you can also do is go back onto the weekly chart, make it a bit bigger, and that will kind of maybe bring up the 50 to that kind of level as well. So, yeah, I mean, that's definitely a point of interest, and that will be a point of interest for many investors as well. You could even say is the drop down a little bit lower, actually down to 98 perhaps, just because of the resistance points here on the weekly. But yeah, lots to be kind of talked about there. So maybe just extend that zone while I'm here. If I could just grab it. I can't get it. There we go. So 97 to 109. So it's a $10 range. It's not too bad. So if you kind of accumulated through that area, for example, and obviously maybe we get a move higher. Yeah. I don't know what their PE ratio is like at the moment though, because it looks quite extended now.
I can check.
Because I don't know what standard PE ratio is for kind of restaurant stocks.
So their PE is pretty high. The non-gap forward PE is 238, and the sector median is 17. So it's pretty high. Yeah.
Okay, so that's something definitely to add to your analysis when you're doing it, viewers. So
right.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to...
We've got a question. I can't see because I've got my phone right in front of the questions, which
yeah.
Is not great.
Ken asks a question. What you guys think of American basic material stocks considering Trump's potential tariffs? Ken, if you can just add a couple tickers or one or two tickers, we'll cover that on that as well. But we'll take the broader question a little bit later. Let's move to the next one, Square.
Square, this one looks really good on the weekly chart I was looking at the other day.
Do you think that like we are topping off, or at least we see this curve on the?
No, I see a bit more of a breakout trade on the weekly chart.
Okay.
Yeah, just because if you look at this, I know obviously it's had a massive move from 56 to essentially 96 in the space of a couple of months. But these stocks can always continue. This stock was considered very, very undervalued down at these levels. So is it now just kind of well valued? We don't know. We'd have to do a bit more research into that. But the level I've drawn here, as you can see, 83 to 88. You can see lots of resistance on multiple occasions on the weekly chart. So for me, the bigger time frames are a bit more cemented. So if we're just coming back down to that level now, we may have already bounced there. But if we get another little dip into that kind of zone, I'll be very much looking to take a position. But not at the moment. I'm not really buying much at the moment. But that's where I would look for potential play. What about you, Kay?
So I generally get around the $80 mark. At least that's how most of my trades have been on Square. So that would be my first one. And you can always, if you sell cash secured ports, you can probably go out a month from here and open a CSP at those levels around 80, maybe 82, something like that. That's what I'm looking at. But right now I'm not touching it. I want to see how it plays out. I already have a position over here in this one.
Nice. Okay. You did miss AMD, yes, Kapil, but it's about 20 minutes back, I think. I think Kay covered it with his actual individual picks. So you can go back and have a look at that.
All right. Next is Asana, ASAN.
Is this software?
Yes. Yeah, it's a SaaS company, and I can kind of for folks who don't know Asana, it's there's another software company called Monday, and these are basically automation softwares, workflow automation software. Right? It's used in project management, marketing, sales. It's basically a mini Salesforce. You can use it. Can be a mini a ticketing system. It's a project management software. So in the software space, these guys are doing very well. And I have to say, I did miss this because I use the software, and I'm pretty impressed with the software. And honestly, I was thinking of getting around the $12-13 mark, but I never got into it, and he had this massive run. Now, there are two key things that are happening with both Monday and Asana. These guys are pretty leaders in this space itself. So their AI build out in the software. So if you're using the software, you know exactly how this is playing out in the enterprise section. So they sell based on the seats. So the buyer or the companies are paying per user per month. So the more they can expand within the organization, the better it is. Generally, these softwares sell themselves as a project management software, but then eventually they start expanding into CRM, ticketing system, and other features. Honestly, I'm pretty bullish on these stocks in the SaaS space because they are really bringing the AI aspects into it. And I'll give you an example. So for those who work in who have a 9 to 5 job, right? You go in a meeting, one thing that you do is create meeting minutes, right? Or, track tasks. They started doing this automatically through the AI agent itself. They can generate a weekly report. You can build out everything, and the AI will generate the report directly, and you can send it out to your stakeholders or senior stakeholders. So those use cases, they don't sound very fancy, but in corporate America and other corporates, this is a pretty standard use case, and it's saving a lot of time for these workers. So I believe that's just going to get bigger and bigger over the next coming years.
So it's a bit of an AI play then.
It's a SaaS plus AI play.
Yeah, but do you reckon that's why we've seen this move? Because of the AI aspect?
I don't know why we saw this massive move. Let me check.
The volume is quite substantial. You can see on the chart. Obviously, big volume, which is kind of starts to move, of course, and it's kind of held that volume nicely because it's nothing anywhere compared to anything this year.
So. Yeah, so they announced their Q3 results, and they actually got into a new market through their AI.
It makes sense because a lot of AI kind of related stocks, of related news stories, they have this kind of volume pattern, obviously massively increased. But it's nice to see it's actually held up. So people are now looking into that kind of part of the company and thinking, actually, this could hold up quite nicely. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We've got a bit of a volume shelf here. I don't know where I would add. I think the volume's quite nice.
Listen, this is not a Palantir, by the way. I'm just say this out loud, right? This is not a Palantir. So don't don't rush into it. Take your time. It will probably do a gap fill.
Wise words. We'll leave it there for that one.
All right. Next up, Apple. We haven't covered Apple in like forever.
It's a bit boring, though, isn't it? It keeps going up.
It's boring. Honestly, Apple has been pretty boring. It just keeps going up. I don't want it to go up, but it's still going up.
You don't want it to go up?
No, you know why? Because my covered call is in loss. That's why.
Oh. But either way, it's absolutely terrific in terms of the actual market as well, because obviously it's a big player in the market. Yeah. Massive volume. I don't know why I took our faces away. But there you go. So look at that volume on Friday. Incredible. Double anything. What's driving this move? Is it the kind of India factor?
I don't know what's driving. I mean,
it's just having a good time.
I think it's just moving along nicely and steadily, because 16 did not do as well as they would have hoped for. They had to pull back their Vision Pro. That product was a pretty dud, I would say.
Yeah.
The AI aspects of the iOS launch, I mean, I'm at least hearing reports, or at least reading reports online, is like it's not the biggest driver for folks who want to upgrade because of their AI features. Now, is it going to be a big piece down the road? Most likely. But I mean, it is pretty boring. But you know what? These Mag 7 companies should be boring.
I thought I'd try to do the trend-based Fib extension, but nothing's really materialized. Not the most solid one in the world. It suggests that maybe there's resistance coming right up now, but obviously it's not meeting this criteria that much. So I'm going to get rid of that. I just thought I'd try to see if there was a bit of a kind of resistance point. Have I disappeared again?
Yeah, you're a little blurred. That's okay.
Why? I think my phone's just on fire or something. I'll just keep talking for now.
Right. Let's move on to, I think it's DVN. I think it's an energy stock, if I'm not wrong.
DBN.
Yeah, Devon Energy. Yep.
Was it DVN? Oh, DVN.
DVN. E as a dog, V as a Victor, N as a Nancy.
Gotcha. Oh, price action is negative there.
And
Just going to switch over to my different camera. So.
It's down 32% year to date. I think most of the energy stocks are doing pretty poorly. I'm looking at Oxy, which was Warren Buffett's big pick, is down 21%. Exxon Mobil, I think year to date they are up like 6%. So I think they haven't done very well. Energy stocks in general are doing pretty bad.
Do you think this is related to the election at all or not?
I think in general the energy has taken a hit over this couple, at least the last 2 quarters, I would say. What would you think? Where would you think? Do you think there's a trade in this one, or from a long-term standpoint, if you are looking?
I don't tend to trade dividend stocks at all, or even buy them. To be honest, it's just not really my style at all. I have tried it. I've dabbled in it in the past, but just looking at the chart as well, it's just looking very, very negative. Now you might think, okay, so where would you add or where would you look at buying? But even that is tricky because there's no real volume profile either. It's just all scattered around. So it's not like one. This is the monthly chart. So there's not even much of a guide of where you would add. Maybe at these kind of peaks here, they're kind of $20 to $30. But still, it's not something I would look at in terms of buying anytime soon.
And Sean, I think if you open Exxon Mobil, it has a very similar chart for Devon. I think in general you are seeing, if you go to daily, see it's now. Honestly, I used to cover Exxon Mobil a lot when energy stocks were pretty high, I think in the first half of this year, and then I kind of stopped because it just ran too much too fast. But I think I'm getting interested back again here. I think if Exxon Mobil in particularly goes down below 100, that's where I'll be eyeing to get back trading it at least.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just broke major support at 108. $108. So that's again, it's that kind of tricky area of where is it going to find the base. I think let's have a look at XLE because that's the energy sector, isn't it? So let's have a look at that on a weekly. So this is a bit more. Get rid of that. This is a bit more appealing because you can see from the energy sector it might actually be around this sort of area. So what I've been looking at now we brought it up is this ETF I brought up here. If it gets down to this level, that's when I'll start buying individual stocks because that would be a point of contact for me. No?
Yeah. No, I agree. I think keeping an eye on the 20-50 day moving average and 200-day for energy, I think energy might become a play in 2025 as well.
I like Ken's comment here. Agreed. Dividends are overrated. Dividends are good if you're a multi-millionaire.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the bigger your portfolio, the bigger the gain on the dividend side is and less work.
Exactly. I mean, the stage of investing is you make your money through kind of growth stocks and kind of blue chip stocks, and then you can go into the dividend stocks when you get a little bit older. You know, you've got a family, you need to support them a bit more. At least that's how I view things from the logical point of view. 20s, 30s, invest in growth, invest in tech.
But I also think that it depends if you have interest in investing and trading. If you are hands-off kind of a person who doesn't like investing, then I think dividend stock is the way to go. I do think you make more money by trading, income generation. But again, trading is not for everybody. If you don't have interest in looking at charts and numbers and following companies and talk all day about it, then it's not for you.
Exactly
all right. Another ETF, SOXL, that's the semiconductor one, right?
Oh, I pressed the wrong button here. Oh no, what have I done? SOXL, this is the long version as well. So it's actually 3X. Get rid of that. There we are. This one actually looks quite negative. I posted about this during the week, actually on the positive side of things. we'll have a look at XOXX because that's actually what it's based off of here. So you can see on the daily here, it's a negative price action below the wedge. So this wedge obviously formed over a certain amount of time. My target was very clearly this kind of box here. Ultimate target was here, but the main target was to kind of gap fill. You can see on the left side of the screen. But it looks like we just kind of got a bit of a negative price action. And then I'm going to follow up with another but as well, because you've got NVIDIA, like we looked at earlier. It looks like it's a bit of a false head and shoulders pattern where it's kind of looking to punch straight back above it. If that does that, then we might just see that with this stock as well. So it's not quite a clean break. So if we get a good price action essentially tomorrow and it reclaims that, then I would just maybe reassess the kind of bullish side of the trade as well, not just solely negative side. What are your thoughts on that, Kay?
My thoughts on SOXL would be, if you do not want to trade individual semiconductor stocks, I think this is a good one because it is down 60% plus from its all-time high. Now, this will be driven by NVIDIA's run, AMD's run. So if we believe that it's going to do that run, SOXL is going to benefit from it as well.
Exactly right. So I'm just trying to sort out my camera. But
yeah,
I might just leave it like this.
Yeah, take your time. Next one is ALB.
Is that Albemarle? That's another dividend stock. Oh, is this a minerals company? I believe it's a mining company.
Let me see. What is it?
Recent, obviously, trend line break there. I think we've got a couple of comments.
Yeah, it's a engineered specialty chemicals worldwide. It operates through 3 segments: energy storage, I don't know how, specialties, and kitchen. I don't know what that means. But yeah, lithium carbonate, all that stuff. It has a hold rating. Oh no, it's not a hold rating. It's a short interest is pretty high. It's 10%, 11%.
Are you looking at ALB?
ALB, yeah.
I'm surprised it has short interest.
Yeah, it's at 11%, 10.82%.
Wow, that's actually.
Yeah, its company is not profitable. Market cap is $10 billion, so it's not a small company either.
I think getting to that 79 level would be a point of interest for me. The gap fill, you can see on the screen, the green line, very evident. It could be heading towards down there. If we zoom out, we might get a little bit more content. Oh, look at that. It's on the monthly 200 moving average. Wow, it's really been sold off. That's crazy. From the peak to where it is now, we're looking at 73% down. Crazy. Is this a point of interest for you, UK? Because this is a 200 moving average and it's the monthly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about this company. I don't know what they do, but in general, the theory is if the stock is generally trading, below its 200-day moving average, and I believe in the company, I'll probably start adding to the position.
Interesting. So the weekly would be rejection. It's a bit of a mess, this chart, because you can see it's bullish in some areas, but then really negative in other areas.
Because of also I think the valuation plays a big role. So I think if you are looking to build a position in it, I think you need to do your due diligence in this particular company.
Because even on this monthly chart, we were mentioning the kind of potential support at 200 moving average. We actually have no volume, pretty much no volume there. If you zoom out a touch. So there's a bit of a volume gap from 95, which we're in that-ish, and then down to 64. So
Ken says ALB is the biggest US lithium stock.
Yeah. And you can see
because of lithium prices. Okay. So it's very similar to the.
We need lithium, don't we? Because of
for the battery. Yeah.
It's interesting. For a long-term hold, maybe, definitely. But I'll probably won't get into it because it's a dividend stock. I'm not really buying that right now.
All right, moving on. Next is R-Cat. R is a Rambo cat. Yeah. It's
What?
No, C is the cat.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep. Red Cat Holdings. It's a strong buy by Wall Street.
That chart, that's hilarious.
It's a couple things off the bat. It's a 9% short interest. It's a less than $1 billion company. They are into drones and stuff like that.
There's been some talk around drones recently.
Yeah, in New Jersey, they had a lot of drones flying, and there's a lot of conspiracy theories on X as usual. And they have banned drone flying for, I think, 2 weeks or so in New Jersey.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Looks like it might be forming a little bit of a wedge right now. It's a very extreme wedge, but it could be one to watch maybe within this wedge. Whoever brought this up, maybe something to look at if you don't already have it on your chart. But yeah, very erratic price action. I imagine the volume is probably a lot higher than, yeah, you can see the volume there on the bottom. Getting a big move, big push from the buyers. One to watch though, for a little, maybe a bit of a day trade perhaps, because that's quite a big move, going from 877 to 1075, and that's way over 20%. Yeah, we're getting to you. Don't worry, Jacob. What we got next, okay?
Next is this is RCAT, right? Next is VRT.
VRT. Vertiv Holdings.
Yeah, what do they do? It sounds very familiar. What do they do?
Maybe a bit of a bull flag happening right now. While you're looking that up, I'll just draw some lines. That's what I'm good at.
They are, together with the subsidiaries, they design, manufacture, and service critical digital infrastructure technologies and life cycle services for data center, communication networks, and commercial industrial environments. Okay, but what do they? It offers AC and DC power management products, switchgear, bus bar. Okay, got it. So it's basically an industrial. They provide electrical components, and they are a pretty big company. They are a $45 billion company. Short interest is pretty low. Forward P is 44. So from a valuation standpoint, let's see.
Not a bad chart setup, to be fair. I mean, this 114 level is a nice kind of resistance support flip. You can see the resistance here. I'll zoom in a bit. You see the resistance here, kind of October time. Obviously formed a bit of a bull flag, kind of trading down. We are below the 50-moving average. So the trade setup here that I would like to see is essentially a breakout of this bull flag quite nicely, and maybe come back down and retest that kind of trend line here and the 50-moving average at the same time. So it gives you a bit more confidence. You've got lots of volume around this area as well. So there's 3 points of potential confluence that might, arise at that point. Even that kind of 120 level, not a bad time to kind of start a trade. And then obviously target price will be back to kind of all-time highs up here at 145. Very simple trade setup if it does, mature in that fashion. So yeah, whoever brought this one up, hope that helps. Hope she does. Who was it? That was Julian G. So yeah, thank you for bringing that one up.
Next up is
CrowdStrike. Here you go, Jacob. There you go. We got there in the end. We don't have many left, do we? Actually, we've got coin and that's it.
After this is coin. That's it.
Awesome. So if you've got a few more you want to squeeze them in, then please do so. We've probably got another 10 minutes or so on here anyway. So yeah, but this one was actually crowd. I'll let you talk to this one because it's a bit more your kind of ballpark. I like it as a future stock. Obviously, we're going to need cybersecurity more and more heading into the future.
See, again, when you're trading, you got to look at the asymmetrical bets, right? So when we had this disaster, when CrowdStrike was like down, I don't know how much it was down. It's crazy. Let me get that.
33%, I think it was.
Something like that from the all-time highs, right? It was down 50% almost.
Yeah.
The stock was trading at 398. It was down to 199.
Wow.
That would have been a very, very good buy-in. And I know a few folks who had done it, but they sold it pretty early. But this is a nice setup, making higher highs. I don't know how much more it has in the tank to run. at this point in time. But if I'm looking to trade in, I'll wait for a 340 entry point, right around the 50-day moving average.
Yeah, so here basically,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
that line is almost.
Yeah, exactly. That would be my entry point right now. This is the risk to reward, because if you notice this level at 390.49, it got rejected at that level twice. So that could be a potential resistance.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely a resistance point.
And so if we mark that as a resistance, there is not much juice unless you day trade 362 to 390 swing. That's all I can think of. Otherwise, I would add around the 50-day. Yeah.
Yeah, I think even the 200 moving average looks pretty good for a long-term player.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people are more looking towards CrowdStrike as a long-term hold, because obviously cybersecurity, we need it. So
yeah.
And
if you can afford options to run cash secured puts, then maybe a month out, you can look at 350 or 340, which will be a 25 delta and a 34 delta. 340 would be 25 delta, 350 would be 34 delta. So you will earn anywhere between $635 to $870 premium. So that means that if you buy a 350, you get 870. You're looking at a cost basis of maybe 341.20 or something like that. So that could be a long-term position to add.
Nice. I've just written down crowd 340 because just adjusted the trend line slightly, just because this was that dramatic day on Monday where everything kind of plummeted down. So I drew it from the previous week. It just seems to have matched up nicely, and it's kind of following the 50 moving average as you mentioned. So yeah, I like this chart. It's good. I want to see how it happens in the next couple of weeks.
Next up is coin, and then we got a couple more, so I'll add them.
Awesome. Right, Coinbase. It's at the 50 moving average. We've had a bit of negative price action over the weekend with Bitcoin. I think it's down like 4% or something like that today from last time I checked. So we will probably see this drop in pre-markets. Obviously, see what happens overnight, of course. But as a trade goes, it's not too bad time to kind of add or start a position potentially, because we are at, if I could draw the line properly, a couple of resistance points here. Obviously, in the last kind of 6 months or so. Broke straight through that with obviously Bitcoin doing what it did, and then just calming down a little bit, coming back down to this level of 265, and maybe that is a little bit of support, maybe a bit of hope for Coinbase investors. And actually, that does go back some way. So you could have a bit of a zone, couldn't you, between the two lines I've got there. So yeah, I mean, technically it looks okay. We do just have to be careful of what Bitcoin is doing, because it will just follow that. I mean, it will follow it in leveraged fashion as well. So yeah, be careful if you're trading coin for sure. I know a lot of people don't really like coin. I know Nate never liked coin, so probably still doesn't. So
yeah, I mean, this is a classic example, right? You may not like a stock and it will still run.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Awesome.
Next up is Chewy. We haven't heard of Chewy, this meme stock, in a long time, right?
I know that they definitely did their thing. Oh, look at that!
Oh my god! Look at the meme stock running up.
It's actually quite consistent though. If you look at it, it's kind of making higher highs, higher lows.
True.
Throughout this whole chart, so it seems to maybe just stabilizing. But is it like a pet food thing? I don't actually know what it is.
Yeah, it's a pet. It's a store, pet food store, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well then,
their short interest is pretty low as well. I mean, 6.89. I thought it would be much higher.
Higher highs, higher lows. Not too bad. Maybe if it comes down to kind of this level of 29.50/30, that might be a point of interest, because you've got a lot of volume around there. A big volume profile pop out from the side of the screen. But I don't really like it here. I mean, you could get it here because obviously it's breaking out the moving averages, but it's not the cleanest setup. There's not enough confluence there for me. Awesome.
All right, next up is ALGS. Never heard of this. Some therapeutic. It's a massive run up. Look at that run.
Yeah, I mean, that is quite substantial, isn't it? They've obviously got some sort of approval. from something about something. 440%. Wow. Congratulations if you brought it all the way down here, which is probably unlikely, but even if you've got it around this sort of area, 15, that's 162%. Very, very good. Merry Christmas, Christina.
Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yeah, in terms of what to say about this, I'm not too sure. I mean, we've got some resistance here back in kind of, actually 2022. So that potentially could be a bit of a factor in terms of resistance. You can kind of see the wick performing that now. But if it was to break that and go up higher, then you're obviously looking at this kind of wick up here. So maybe bring it down slightly, kind of 57-ish. So if you're bullish on the stock, that might be a level to look at. But back down on the daily, yeah, not really much to say. It's made us move. It's making us move. So just risk manage if you're in it.
Yep. Next up is Qualcomm. We go back to semiconductors. Qualcomm. Hey man, Qualcomm. I like the levels they are in. They are barcoding between. Let me just see. This is 151 to 174. That's the consolidation phase for Qualcomm. There is volume shelf building in that zone. You see that? Yeah, exactly. Those are two lines here. So I like it for long term. Continue to build this AVGO, NVIDIA, AMD, same setup.
I forgot to put the Christmas thing back on, but now it's back on.
Yeah.
For the last part of the stream. Yeah, no, it's not a bad setup.
Most people watch the first part and the last part, so at least we have the Christmas thing.
Yeah, we're obviously not used to doing it. We do it once a year, so that's fair enough. Maybe we can get that sorted out. Right, this next one.
Next is VKTX. Never heard of it either.
Viking Therapeutics, another therapeutic company. Wow, made a massive move from, you can see, about $12 all the way up to $96. That's incredible. And then obviously just basically trading within a range. There was a wedge there which broke downwards. You can see that. And then there was a parallel channel. There's lots of different patterns literally in this chart alone. So you've got the wedge, which was there. Just a little bit of basic education, I guess, for you lot. Little wedge. And then you've got the channel that moves upwards there. And then obviously subsequently broke down from that. So then you've got to look for a bit of support, which is what we'll do now. Although, to be fair, it's moved up so much, there's not really much support either. It'd be all right down here, wouldn't it, Kay?
Yeah, not touching it.
Yeah, I thought you might not. I won't be touching it either, of course, but I just wanted to help out whoever brought this up. James brought this one up, so I hope that helps slightly. Lots of patterns. It seems to be a bit more of a pattern stock. So perhaps if you notice a pattern coming up in the next couple of months, then maybe have that on your radar. Right, we'll take a few more stocks. Let's say that maybe 3 stocks.
All right. So we do have 3 stocks. Perfect. So next up is MOB.
MOB. Did we touch on this earlier?
I don't know.
No, we didn't, did we? No, it's different. So this is Mobilicom Limited.
It's a market cap of 20 million. It's a small cap. Short interest 8.33%. What do they do? Let me see.
I've got a few of these tonight.
Yeah, end-to-end provider of cybersecurity and smart solutions for drones.
Oh, okay.
And autonomous.
I can see the appeal. Yeah.
It's an Israeli company. I see. Oh, okay.
Massive volume here. Huge volume on that day, December the 1st or 2nd. Yeah.
So most likely, is going to happen is they will probably sell this company out to one of those big players like Crowd, Palo Alto, or something like that at some point in time.
And in past and history, in your experience, is that good for the stock price, or does that?
Yeah, I mean, it will definitely have a run up. I don't know about this company. I haven't done any research, but generally, Israel is known for its startups, and that's how they bring the business to a certain threshold, and then they basically look for a buyer to sell that off.
Yeah.
Because if you think about all the brands, like WhatsApp was sold off to Facebook, it's an Israeli company. There are just so many startup companies from Israel that it's mind-boggling. They really do a very good job in startups.
I think point of interest for me would be around kind of 250 to 270 if people were looking for that kind of insight, just because of the kind of 20-year average where it is and when the volume is as well. So just kind of makes sense to me, that kind of area, if anywhere, but I won't be touching this I don't think in the near future at least. But I have to do a bit more digging, I think, into the company because it does sound quite exciting. But yeah, we'll see. All right,
So next question from PK is Meta. Buy the dip. Thank you.
Yeah, Meta. So this is one I actually brought up during the week, and I liked an ad at 600, but then we had the dramatic price action on Wednesday, and then obviously you can see what happened subsequently after that. It dropped down to the 50-moving average. So yeah, I mean, I still don't hate it as long as it's above this overall trend line. Let me get rid of all these lines on the screen. Bit hectic. But yeah, I like the trend line. Obviously, support goes way back. If we do break the 50, then obviously I like adding around this kind of area of 575-ish. Would you agree with that, Kay, or are you looking at something different?
Yeah, I would. And if you're just looking from an investing standpoint, then of course, as a dip happens, you do weighted DCA, which means that you increase your investment in proportion to the decline in price, right? So the more it declines, the more you invest. The less it declines, the less you invest. That's investing, not for trading.
No, of course, yeah. AMD we covered earlier, Octane, so you can go back in the stream. It's probably about 20 minutes in, I think, 25 minutes in, so go ahead and look at that.
And the last one is IONX. Never heard of it either.
IONQ.
NX.
I've got a Q there.
Oh, yeah. Okay, maybe you're right.
IONQ. Last stock of the Christmas period. Awesome. It looks like it's going very, very well for this stock, whatever it is and whatever it does. I think I've seen this one before, actually.
Let me see.
A bit of a broadening range. Maybe draw that.
Yeah, we have definitely covered the stock before, or at least somebody asked, because I have some lines on my chart as well.
It's a tricky one to analyze, though.
It's almost a $10 billion company. It's not a small company either. So they engage in development of general purpose quantum computing system in US.
Oh, I've got lines drawn as well, look.
Yeah, they access its quantum computers through cloud platforms such as AWS. Okay, all that is good. It also provides contracts associated with the design, development, and construction of specialized quantum computing. Okay.
I mean, it's very extended right now. I wouldn't even think about buying this until a reasonable support because of 19 level, but that's looks like that may not happen anytime soon. So,
I think I think it will have a pullback. If you go back to the 2021 time, it had a very, very similar spike. If you go to weekly, and you'll see that
2022, yeah, that one there.
Yeah, so which goes to show that in times like these, you will have these memes kind of price action on companies like these.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you can see the downfall it had afterwards as well, just a little bit of a calm down.
Yeah, just 7% the stock was down from its high. So
and even just matching the RSI as well. The RSI that day was 884, and this is the weekly chart, by the way. And exactly. The RSI was really high, and you can see it's even higher this time around. So just be careful, and if you are trading this at all, but also be aware of risk management, taking profits as well. That's what I tried to say.
Yeah.
No, but exciting for investors though. If you are in that stock, awesome. Right, and that concludes our charting for today. Christmas is just around the corner. What are your plans, Kay? Anything with the family, or are you just chilling out?
Just gonna chill out. Spend time with families, have good dinner, and that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Yeah, me too. I'm going to be spending time with close family. Obviously, have a drink, have lots of food, that kind of thing. So I'm really looking forward to that kind of thing. But yeah, no, once again, thank you very much for joining us on the stream. I'm going to move it over here so I can actually look like I'm looking at you. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us once again. Obviously, Merry Christmas to all the viewers that joined. We've had over 3,000, actually almost 4,000 viewers today. And obviously, thank you for joining. Obviously, fun times. James, we've had Sebastian in today. Octave was here. I think another one.
Ken, we had Ken. Yeah, we had
Dina as well.
Yeah. Everybody, Merry Christmas.
Lots of regular viewers as well. So keep coming back every Sunday. We'll be here next Sunday. And we'll be here actually with some exciting stuff. So we've obviously got what went well, what went bad for our years, and kind of what we're looking to improve for 2025. and obviously our picks for the year as well. We'll go over how well our picks did this year. And then obviously we'll talk about how what we're looking forward to in 2025. And we'll have a single pick each, and obviously you can bring your picks and bring your tickers as well to the table. So it'll be 1 p.m. Eastern time next Sunday. Anything to conclude here, Kay, for you?
I will say happy holidays to everybody. Enjoy this time, and just have fun, man. That's it.
Yeah. And thank you again, once again, for Wolf for letting us use the platform. We really, really appreciate it. And Merry Christmas to Wolf as well, and all of
Merry
us.
Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Yeah.